Niners Seahawks, Lumen Field, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern. A rematch of 2 weeks ago when they played for the number one seed, and Seattle basically bullied San Francisco over the field. It should have been much of a more disparity in the scoreline as it was. It was 13-3. San Francisco won all the way back in week one when they had Nick Bosa, when they had Fred Warner. They strip sacked Sam Darnold on the final drive as Seattle was trying to win the ball game. And here we are again, the trilogy now at Lumen Field, Seattle, tomorrow night. The 12th man gonna be rocking, and the Seahawks are a pretty big favorite in this one. We talked about it earlier in the week on BetMGM. They are still a touchdown favorite, right on the dot. -7 are the Seahawks. The total is 45. And big injury news in this one that really caught me off guard, but it feels like it's a whole lot of hullabaloo about nothing. Sam Darnold, questionable to play with an oblique injury. And I listened to a clip in one of the press conferences that he did. It was either today or yesterday. And he was like, yeah, he's just throwing some, what did he call it? Air routes, which I guess is either he's just simulating throwing the ball or he's just a light catch with the receivers. And he said he felt something in his oblique and didn't want to, risk it. So he went and got some rehab, but he basically said that there's almost a 0% chance he's not going to play. So Sam Darnold, I would say, is 99.9% playing in this game on Saturday night. But weird to get that thrown in the mix out of nowhere. Before we give our best bets for this game and break down the X's and O's, just when it comes to Sam Darnold, because Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, who we've talked about plenty with getting head coaching interviews, he basically wouldn't even comment on Sam Darnold. And he's talking about Drew Lock getting first team reps. Like, do they think the Niners are idiots? Is this gamesmanship, or do you really think that there is something going on with Sam Darnold's oblique?
I mean, I think he messed it up a little bit. He might have twinged it in some form or fashion, throwing Nerf balls or air balls or whatever he does. I throw a lot of air balls just in general every time I'm on the hardwood, not necessarily preparing for a meaningful NFL postseason matchup. But I think Darnold's going to suit up. I think he's going to play. Honestly, I don't think they need him to do a whole lot in this game other than just feed JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's arguably the best receiver right now in the NFL. And you could say, what about Puka Nacua? Okay, he's definitely in the conversation. What about CeeDee Lamb? Yes, he's in the conversation. Yeah, Justin Jefferson is too, and some of the others, Jamar Chase as well, and when Jefferson actually has a competent quarterback. But getting back to this game, I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Kenneth Walker the third and a little Charbonnet all day, popping a cork on Zach Charbonnet, especially inside the red zone. That is the formula of success for Seattle: eating clock, moving the chains, leaning on your elite defense. I think that's going to be a difference in this contest overall, a matchup of familiar foes. I think the ultimate question I want to propose to you, Pat, is the first two games were so low scoring. And everybody in the great grandmother was like, oh, we got to slam the under. Oh, my gosh, it's going to be another stinker. Oh, it's going to be another field goal kicking contest. Would you be at all floored and shocked if this thing finished like 30-27 and absolutely dunked on the over? Because I wouldn't be. And the other thing I'm going to throw out there before you give that answer, Pat, we got the email this morning from the BetMGM folks. The most bet on team via the spread in the divisional round in the NFL playoffs, the San Francisco 49ers. So if you like fading the public and leaning in that narrative, you might want to break out the sledgehammer on the Seahawks -7.
Yeah, it doesn't make me feel great being public Joe here in this game, because I like San Francisco. I think they can win the game outright, and if they end up getting beat by 17 to 20 points, I'm going to feel like an idiot. But yeah, look, the question you asked me was, what do I think in terms of how it could go? I could see a ton of points. Again, I think we look back and so often we get recency bias and we forget about what happened in that game. Well, the Seahawks are missing their left tackle, Charles Cross. The Niners were not only missing George Kittle, which they will be again, but more importantly, they were missing left tackle Trent Williams. And if you don't know the importance of Trent Williams at this point, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he used to be the best left tackle on the planet. I don't know if he still is. He's definitely still top 5. But in terms of his value, right, the times they use him, pulling pin, pulling for McCaffrey, getting out in space, mauling guys, running guys over in the run game, And then just how important and valuable he is as Brock Purdy's blindside protector in the pass game. He is so valuable that without him, the left tackle that filled in, Austin Pleasance, I think his name. I mean, he was getting bulldozed all game. He was getting run over by Leo Williams and Boye Mafe and everybody else that Seattle had rushing the quarterback in that game. And it was a disaster. Brock Purdy was consistently under pressure. Trent Williams is going to play. That is going to be a massive, massive boost for the Niners. When we look at now, they've played each other twice. They know everything there is to know about each other, right? Clint Kubiak is the descendant of Kyle Shanahan. They run the same offense. Two teams that look alike in terms of they play each other every year in the division. So there's not much else to know other than what they know about each other. And a lot of the times that plays out defensively. But the guys that didn't play 2 weeks ago and the guys that are there now, again, I think it's going to be a big difference. So I would agree. I would lean towards the over in this one because I think San Francisco, even without George Kittle, they're going to be able to move the football. I think there's a pretty good chance they get Ricky Pearsall back for this game. He didn't play in that Week 18 game either. He didn't play last week against the Eagles. So, of course, Kittle is a massive loss. But if Trent Williams is playing, which he's gonna, if Ricky Pearsall is going to play, which he might, I think those are two big weapons that the Niners didn't have last time that they have this time. And I think their offense is able to throw against Seattle. The Seahawks, they're top 3 in terms of stopping the run, but their secondary can be thrown on, at least in my opinion. I mean, we saw them give up 37 points and 550 yards of offense to the Rams. We saw them give up a ton of points earlier in the year to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Baker Mayfield threw all over them. They can be thrown on. So I think if Purdy is protected, I think San Francisco is going to move the ball effectively. And I think that, they'll be able to score points. And then we know how the walking wounded that is the San Francisco 49ers defense, right? I mean, basically their entire linebacking core is still beat up. They went with all backups last week. Eric Kendricks, by the way. Eric Kendricks is playing middle linebacker for this team. They're down to their third string middle. They might get D. Winters and Luke Gifford back. Those are the other two linebackers that missed last week. But now their strong safety, Jair Brown, is out. The pass rush has been an issue. Turning the ball over has been a big issue for them. And they didn't get the Eagles. They didn't turn the Eagles over at all last week. So, you got a Seahawks offense, like you said, that ran it down their throats the last time with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. Sam Darnold didn't play great, but he played good enough. And I wonder how conservative Mike Macdonald is this time. Remember, they went for it on 4th and goal earlier in the game, didn't get it. They decided not to take the points, and they still ended up winning 13-3. But I think you get a much more conservative approach this time from Mike Macdonald. If it's a 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, and they're around the 30, 35-yard line, I know it's the sexy thing to go for it. I think maybe Mike Macdonald says, you know what? Let's trust our defense. Let's grab some points. Let's get up early, knowing that we're at home. We've got the crowd advantage and all that. So without further ado here, Brad, your best plays for Niners Seahawks tomorrow night.
Oh, let's start it off with a bang. Brando, are you ready? Daddy want, daddy need, daddy gotta have it. Let's go. Oh, my Sledgehammer special this game. And it's one, no way in hell I would have recommended at all at any point during the regular season, but I am now because of the injury to George Kittle. Kyle Juszczyk. I'm going to take the over on 13.5 receiving yards. I got it earlier this week on BetMGM at a -110. And the reason why I'm sledgehammering that home, Pat, is, George Kittle is going to be out, so there is a plethora of targets available, and I think Juszczyk is going to operate freely in the short field. Why? No defense. And none, not a single team allowed more receptions to the running back position in the regular season than the Seattle Seahawks. They give up 97 over the 17-game stretch. You go back to week 1. The matchup between these two teams, Juszczyk had 32 receiving yards in the game. He had nearly 50 last week. I think he's got to catch at least a couple of balls. And all I need is 14 yards to cash in. Hell yeah, that's sledgehammer worthy on the over 13.5. Love that one. I also love Ain't He So Purdy, 20-plus rush yards at a +109. Again, I love betting on rushing yards to quarterbacks with mobility this time of year. He did this in one of 2 games against Seattle, just fell short. The other one was 17 at 21. Last time he played them, again, the Seahawks are really going to bring the heat. Purdy's going to flush out, call his own number, rush for at least 20, and I cash in a plus money. And last one for me, same game parlay of Charbonnet all day, anytime touchdown. He scored in both prior games against San Francisco this season, and Seattle on the money line. And look at that, plus 110. More plus money on the board for you. Those are my 3 top plays. And Niners and Seahawks, part 3.
Yeah. I'm going with the Niners to cover here. And again, we'll do final score predictions for all these games towards the end of, or in about an hour and a half from now. But Niners plus 7. You know, again, at the risk of being Joe Public and the public getting smashed on this game, I think Niners keep it close. Trilogy between 2 teams know each other very well. I think the deficiencies in San Francisco's defense are starting to get a little overblown, acting like they can't cover a damn soul. They can't stop anybody. I think what Chicago did in that game, that Sunday night game that exposed a lot of their deficiencies, that was Caleb Williams and the Bears having a great game and getting it a lot on 4th down. So I think the Niners are going to be able to move the ball effectively. I'm not getting caught up in what happened 2 weeks ago. It's going to be a much different ball game. So I like the Niners plus 7. I'm with you on Brock Purdy rushing yards. I'm just going to take over 18.5 on BetMGM. Like you mentioned, it has been tight each of the 2 times they played each other. 21 last game, 17 the first meeting. He's got 24, 21, and 28 in his last 3 games. So I'll just take the over on that for Brock Purdy. And then 2 other plays for me. You like Charbonnet to score. I like Zach Charbonnet rushing yards, over 44.5 rushing yards. If this does go the way that Seattle wants it to, they're going to want to sit on the ball. They're going to want to take time of possession away from San Francisco. And that means, yes, using Kenneth Walker, but then using Zach Charbonnet. And when he played in Week 18, 17 carries, 74 yards. He also had 47 yards in Week 1 against San Francisco on 12 carries. So he's averaging over 4 yards a carry in the 2 meetings. I think they like him as the change of pace to Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to get at least 12, 13 carries in this. And again, he gets 4 yards a pop. That'll hit the over. And then finally, whether or not Ricky Pearsall plays, I like Demarcus Robinson. I mean, the guy went off last week against Philly. 6 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. I think that built a lot of trust with him and Brock Purdy. There is no George Kittle. So, yes, if Ricky Pearsall plays, does that mean there might be slightly less snaps for Demarcus Robinson? Sure. I still think he's going to be on the field. In Week 18 against the Seahawks, he had 3 catches for 24 yards when he played much less of a role. I think he's going to play a big role in this one. Demarcus Robinson over 23.5 receiving yards, the one receiving prop that I like in this game.